7 months in the making. 31 films, 3 franchises. Who reigns supreme over the slashers? Welcome to 31 on the 31st. What is up, everybody? Happy Halloween. Tensa here to bring you a special episode of Real Horror. I figured that it was only fitting to do something fun on my favorite holiday and conclude my thoughts on the big 3 horror franchises I've been covering since March. This 31 on 31 concept was created back in 2018 by the guys over at Autopstream, Cody Leach, CP from WILIscredia, and Bryan Lomax. All of them awesome reviewers in the horror community, and I highly recommend you check out their channels and the links I've left in the description. Lucky for me, with Halloween Kills being pushed to 2021, the Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street movies combined for a total of 31 entries. Today I'm going to rank all of them from worst to best. Creating this list was much harder than I expected, but it was a joy to determine which ones I prefer, good and bad. Think there will be some obvious placements, but also some surprises. So without further ado, I give you my 31 on 31. Kicking things off at the bottom of the pile at number 31 is Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. It destroys any dignity Freddy had up to that point in the series, has a dumbass twist you see coming from a mile away, weak and stupid kills, and the final death of Freddy is atrociously eye-rolling. If this truly was going to be the last in that series, it would have been a gigantic shit on the fans. Not scary, funny, or even entertaining, just a complete farce, and easily the one movie on this list I have no intentions of ever revisiting. Number 30 is Halloween Resurrection. In my opinion, the most unnecessary sequel in the Halloween franchise. With the ultimate ending to Myers and H2O, you could have ended everything there and it could have been satisfying. But no, they had to go and make another one and gave a huge middle finger to you to explain how Myers survived. Laurie is killed off in the stupidest manner possible and the rest is just boring garbage. The Myers house being the subject of a reality TV show is lame, the teens investigating it are forgettable and dull, and Busta Rhymes is responsible for the cringiest moments. It's a clear product of the early 2000s and is really just a poorly made movie. Number 29 is Jason X. I've been finding out over the years that a lot of fans actually have fun with the schlockiness of Jason in space. I 100% do not. It's too schlock for me and horribly uninteresting. Space is where you send your horror icon to die, and they almost succeeded in doing that with Jason. The looks of Jason, regular and Uber, suck. The spaceship setting is no fun and ultimately becomes a ripoff of Aliens. The score is at its worst here, and 99% of the characters are trash. The only redeeming thing for me is the frozen face smash kill. Other than that, I can't sit through this movie without getting bored and angry. Number 28 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Boring. An absolute chore to sit through as nothing of interest is going on. Freddy is annoying and his kills aren't that good with the exception of Dan's motorcycle death. I don't like the whole Freddy being a dad concept and entering the baby's dreams to go after Alice and her friends. It has some cool visuals occasionally, but that's about it. And ending with a rap song over your credits? Yeah. Excellent choice for your Freddy movie. Number 27 is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Another one that for the most part is just boring to sit through. They did nothing with Jamie after that cool setup at the end of part 4 and decided to make her a psychic mute. Michael apparently slept for a year in a hobo shack and retrieved his mask that looks like shit and never stays tucked the fuck in. He also cries like a bitch in the not Myers house. Our favorite girl from the previous entry, Rachel, is killed off unceremoniously and replaced by the ear-tearingly annoying Tina. There's also a man in black running around with a thorn tattoo that Michael also has now for no reason. This one sucks hard and I've grown to really hate it. But I think Crazy Loomis is the only real reason I have it higher than it probably deserves. Number 26 is Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Good lord, this one's a mess. Jason doesn't take Manhattan, the fucker takes a cruise ship, then Vancouver, with a brief stop in Times Square. I believe this is the longest Friday entry, and it has no business being so. It moves at a snail's pace when on the boat, and even when they make it to land, there's nothing fun going on. The final girl, Rennie, is my least favorite in the whole series, with her stupid visions of young Jason throughout. The kills are watered down, but I do love the head punch with Julius. And while Jason's hockey mask look here has grown on me, his unmasked look is a puddle of puke. The ending is the most absurd and confusing in the franchise, involving the sewers, toxic waste, and Jason reverting back to his child form. Number 25 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, my least favorite of the remakes. I like Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy, despite fans clinging on to the idea that only Robert Englund can portray the role. I think his makeup, the surrounding cast of characters, and flip on the story of making him a possibly wrongly accused child molester really screws things up. It is a remake that attempts its own spin, but the characters don't work as well as they do in the original. You don't sense any sort of friendship among them, and Rooney Mara as Nancy couldn't look any more bored the entire time. And I hate that at one point they try to make you sympathize with Freddy and make you think he was a potentially innocent victim. Big no-no. The jump scares are also too frequent, along with the horribly recreated sequences from the original. Number 24 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Just narrowly beats out the Nightmare remake. I hate the white trash makeover, 95% of the characters are unlikable as fuck, and giving Michael a reason for his evil is poorly executed, along with the rushed amount of time at Smith's Grove. It completely misses the point of the original subtlety and goes for more brutal violence and shaky cam, and also eliminates the aspect of Michael being an actual boogeyman. However, I do like Tyler Mane giving us one of the most intimidating versions of Michael, and the score is fine. But this is honestly a hard one to sit through because of how much I love the original. Number 23 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. This was the start of Freddy's downfall. It's where he stopped being this dark character and became a stand-up comedian, ending each kill with a punchline. He's brought back by a dog pissing fire on his remains, and quickly takes out the 3 surviving characters we loved in Dream Warriors. Alice is a bland final girl after taking over for Kristen, as she continuously stares off into space the whole movie before finally manning up and fighting back thanks to gaining the powers of her dead friends. There are some imaginative kills, and visually it's one of the more fantastical, but it's not one I particularly like going back to rewatch. Number 22 is Jason Goes to Hell. This one is totally batshit insane, with the new mythology that Jason is a body-hopping slug demon that can only be killed and reborn by a blood relative. And yet, I can't help but find myself appreciating it for being so damn different. I like giving it a watch every so often because I look at it more as a one-off, or what if, that's actually kind of fun at times. The opening where they blow up Jason is such a shock, and for the first time, a Friday movie makes you wonder what the fuck is gonna happen next. Only problem is not everyone likes what the hell they do to keep the movie going, and Jason's look is one of my least favorites. But I love bounty hunter Creighton Duke, despite him needing more of a backstory. An actually well-made, crazy entry that I for some reason don't hate like a lot of others. Number 21 is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Back-to-back movies where the main villain has his origins fucked with. Here, it's said that Michael Myers was influenced by the cult of Thorn to kill his family in order to fulfill their sacrificial needs. While stupid, a little more believable than Jason's Slug, which is why it's one spot higher. However, this is easily the most frustrating entry in the Halloween franchise. Every time I watch it, it just feels completely disjointed, even though you can feel that there is a good movie somewhere in there. But with terrible editing, too many things going on, unclear motivations, and an unfortunately weak Loomis, it never becomes great to me. But I do like Michael here with his brutal kills and decent looking mask. Number 20 is Freddy vs. Jason. We all know what we're in for when going into this movie, and it delivers. However, getting to those deliveries is a painful process. The teen characters are so annoying, and there's so much drama going on around them aside from the fact that 2 serial killers are after them. Jason and Freddy are the only good things here, obviously. The way they're brought together makes sense, and when either of them is on screen, you get excited and have fun watching them dispose of these idiotic teens. And the 2 fights in the dream world and real world are fairly epic for fans. This is mainly made to be an event movie, as odd as that sounds, but it's something each group of hardcore fans has wanted to see, and don't expect anything more than 2 titans of horror hacking each other up. Number 19 is Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. This is one of those few movies I gave a poor rating to, but ranked higher on this list than those below that were sorta positive. For me, New Blood is really the last entry in the Friday series that I have nostalgic fun with. It's bad, but it's a guilty pleasure for me. Introducing Psychic Girl Tina starts to dip into super outlandish territory, and the characters are awful, being one-dimensional stereotypes. And the kills were cut to ribbons by the MPAA, but I love the look of Jason in this one the most with all that battle damage from the previous movies, and I'd say it's Kane Hodder's best outing as the character. The final fight with Tina is awesome, and the sleeping bag kill is always top 10 worthy. Number 18 is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This is the one movie I think moved up dramatically on my list. I only saw it twice before my review of it, and I remember hating it. However, going back and watching it for my review really altered my opinion. It's Halloween on some crazy drugs, but for the most part, I like the direction Rob decided to take with the sequel to his trailer trash remake. No longer having to follow the John Carpenter blueprint, he had free range to do what he wanted and made an interesting sequel. Seeing how drastically everyone, including Michael, changed after the events of the first one was a cool insight to each of them. Laurie was psychologically scarred and digressed as a person, Loomis became a media whore, and Michael decided to fuck off for 2 years and live off the land. I really like the opening in the hospital, and Michael is fierce throughout, although I could have done without Sherry Moon returning with a white horse. Number 17 is Friday the 13th, 2009. I think I enjoyed this one much more after having to sit through 7 through Freddy vs. Jason. It was a nice breath of fresh air after all that insanity. The opening with Sackhead Jason killing off an entire group of teens in the first 20 minutes is awesome and kind of unexpected. The second group of teens we're introduced to are not as good, but all the more reason to look forward to Jason getting them. But I'm a fan of Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, so I like him as Clay, and the relationship he forms with Danielle Panabaker's character, Jenna. Derek Mears is a scary Jason, almost Rambo-like in his actions around the forest. His kills aren't super memorable, but there are some good ones spread throughout. But I'm not a fan of him having underground tunnels where he keeps Whitney hostage because she reminds him of his mom. Two things I can't stand about this new smart Jason. The score isn't anything to write home about, and the cinematography is too dark in some spots, but overall, I still get some entertainment out of it. Number 16 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. The black sheep of the Nightmare series that deserves more love than it gets. Freddy is still scary, Jesse, Lisa, and Grady are good characters to follow, and the whole Freddy possession thing is an interesting approach. It's notoriously known for having gay overtones, but it doesn't come off as homophobic or anything like that. Jesse dealing with Freddy trying to take over his body is kind of subtext for his struggle with his sexuality. It works well while still managing to be scary at times with Freddy tormenting Jesse. It's an oddly fascinating movie, but has the weakest kills. Number 15 is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, another entry that is often considered the outcast of its franchise. Ditching Michael Myers in favor of an anthology route that includes witchcraft, killer masks, and an alcoholic hero was a bold choice that unfortunately didn't pay off. But I think this is a perfect movie to pop in around Halloween time. It captures the essence of the holiday and works as a nice hybrid of horror, mystery, and science fiction. Tom Atkins as Dr. Chalice is the man, but his foe Colonel Cochran is one evil son of a bitch that steals the show. His plans that deal with robots, Stonehenge, and the alignment of the planets in order to sacrifice children to celebrate Sam Hain is nuts, but it's definitely cooler than I'm making it sound. The Pumpkinhead death of Buddy Jr. is probably the meanest in all of Halloween and shows Cochran isn't fucking around. Number 14 is Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. One more entry that fans tend to chastise for being different. I swear I didn't do this purposely. I have so much fun with Part 5 despite the killer not being Jason in the end. Take away the Jason aspect and it is an absolutely perfect example of a slasher movie with blood, boobs, drugs, and swearing. It's easily the sleaziest of all the Friday movies, but I can't help but have a good time watching it. The characters at Pinehurst are insane and over the top. Tommy has some crazy PTSD that is performed well by John Shepard, and the kills are many and great. Roy made a pretty good faux Jason with the body count he racked up, although the reveal that he was the killer is weak. Best way I can describe this is a greasy ass burger that you can't help but enjoy consuming. Number 13 is Friday the 13th, 1980. I think some of you are already yelling blasphemy at me for putting the original classic outside of the top 10. I do like this one for its creative kills done by Tom Savini, excellent score by Harry Manfredini, and final act with Betsy Palmer being revealed as Mrs. Voorhees, the killer. However, I do tend to find it dull for good portions. The characters aren't bad, but the shenanigans they get into take up too much time for me, and I just want to get to the gore effects. Kevin Bacon with the arrow through his neck, Marcy getting the axe in the face, and Mrs. Voorhees having her head chopped off are the key highlights. It's good, but unfortunately the weakest of the originals. Number 12 is Halloween 2018. I have a weird relationship with this one. There's a lot of things I like about it, and a lot I think should have been better. Taking place after the original was a great choice. I like Jamie Lee's and James Hugh Courtney's performances, and the score is phenomenal. But I get frustrated with characters, motivations, it's not overly scary or filled with any tension, and the ending is super abrupt. It's the most frustrating Halloween entry for me behind Curse, because I know it could be a perfect sequel, but fails on some decisions it makes. With that said, I still enjoy it for what it is, thanks to Michael being a savage beast with some nice callbacks to the original. Number 11 is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This was such a great bounce back for Nightmare after the abomination that was Freddy's Dead. The idea is kind of ingenious to me, setting it in the world where the franchise exists and all the actors are playing themselves, but a demon that Craven tried to contain is now emerging into their lives in the form of Krueger. It's an interesting concept that was meta enough to be the prototype for Craven's Scream. Heather and Miko make a believable mother-son pair and bring up some interesting discussions about introducing your children to horror and to a bigger degree, God in the afterlife. The kills are merely recreations of better ones, but Freddy is the scariest here since part 2. Number 10 is Friday the 13th, Part 3. Man, I'll bet some of you are pissed this is in the top 10, but I don't care. This one is not the height of well-done filmmaking, but holy shit, I love popping it in every so often. The acting and 3D are not good, but I actually enjoy the characters, and I think the kills are slightly enhanced by the 3D. Richard Brucker played the standard for how Jason should be played for future actors, and he was the first to don the iconic hockey mask. He doesn't hold back either, with kills like the upside-down machete slash, the harpoon shot to the eye, and crushing Rick's skull to pop his eye. Chris does have one of the best, worst monologues, but her final chase with Jason is one of my favorites. It's fun, that's my defense. Come at me. Number 9 is Halloween H2O. This is one of the first Halloween movies I remember watching as a kid. I loved it then, and I still do. Michael's look is off, especially thanks to the variety of masks, and his kills aren't that great. But I like watching Laurie deal with her past along with her son John. I like this version of mother and child dealing with a traumatic event more than the version we got in Halloween 2018. It screams late 90s horror with its cast, but that's never bothered me too much. Laurie is the shining star, and I enjoy the build up to her finally facing off with her brother after 20 years, even though we never find out where the hell Michael's been that whole time. The fight between the two is awesome, and it's capped off with a decapitation that should have ended the franchise. Number 8 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. This may have been the first Halloween movie I saw. It's stuck with me as a favorite thanks to nostalgia, but I still think it's a very good sequel. They went back to Michael after Season of the Witch was a bomb, and it could have been way worse, but I think he was incorporated back in a decent way, especially in a script that was completed in less than 2 weeks. The cast and characters do a good job, mainly looking at Jamie, Rachel, and of course Dr. Loomis. The Halloween atmosphere is utilized the best here, giving off that perfect vibe of autumn and spooky season. Michael gets some good kills in, but his mask has always been a bother to me. I don't find it scary, just goofy, and I'm not a fan of the actor's body type and the movement for the character. But the film does have some good scary moments and an ending that is quite shocking. Number 7 is Halloween 2, 1981. This works incredibly well as a sequel to the immortal classic that is the original Halloween. Picking up immediately where that one ended makes it a great double feature that could actually combine the two into one giant 3-hour movie. They upped the gore and body count, but it had to be done in order to keep up with the slashers that were being released, which were ironically spawns because of the original Halloween. The hospital setting is fairly eerie, and the kills are great, including the needle in the eye, the hot tub drowning, and scalpel lift. It does retread some things from the original, including Loomis running around giving his pure evil speeches and the chase between Laurie and Michael, although I do think it's tense and works just as well as the one in the original. The reveal that Laurie and Michael are related does destroy the mystique of Michael's motives, but it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It just became a tool for the studios to create more sequels. While nowhere near as good as the original, Halloween 2 is a worthy successor. Number 6 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors. This is the best Nightmare sequel, hands down. You can watch it right after the original and feel like you haven't missed a beat. Freddy's still around trying to off all the remaining Elm Street kids and is doing it successfully thanks to them being in a mental institution where no one believes there's a man after them in their dreams. It brings back old characters we love and combines them with new characters we grow to like just as much. There's also some mythology building to Freddy that doesn't ruin him, but instead makes you realize just how evil he is with his poor nun mother who was raped by 100 maniacs. Freddy has some of the best kills and quips here, especially "Welcome to primetime, bitch." It's the perfect blend of scary, humorous Freddy, and his defeat is really the best way they killed him off. It truly is a perfect horror sequel. Number 5 is Friday the 13th Part 2, a direct sequel that in my opinion outdoes the original. I think it's far scarier, more entertaining, and is probably the creepiest of the whole Friday series. We got our introduction to series icon Jason, although he was sporting the potato sack instead of the hockey mask, but I still think he looks pretty menacing. It has my favorite kill of the series with Mark in his wheelchair, and favorite final girl in the franchise, Ginny. It's got some good kills that don't necessarily outdo those from the original in terms of effects, but are still creative. The final chase that leads up to the climax in Jason's shack is great, and while its final jump scare is just a retread of the originals, it's still effective for me. Number 4 is A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. This is Wes Craven's crowning jewel in his career. It's essentially a masterpiece in the horror genre with a fantastic premise that can scare the shit out of anyone. The idea that you can be killed in your dreams and die in real life is frightening, especially when the one doing the killing is someone like Freddy Krueger. The razor claws were genius for a weapon and have become just as iconic as Krueger. The deaths of Tina and Glenn are still two of the most creative and horrifying kills put to screen. Nancy is a terrific final girl who is a fighter to the bitter end despite dealing with the death of her friends and struggling to get the adults to believe her about Freddy. What else can I say? It's a classic. Now, choosing for my third and second spots was difficult. I think a lot of you are already pissed that I would place them ahead of the original Nightmare, but it's my list and I have my reasons. Me trying to pick between these two is like a parent picking their favorite child. My mood can change and these may flip, but my number 3 is Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. It is the quintessential Friday movie. If I told you to pick one to watch, it would be this one, as it encapsulates everything I like about the series. It's scary, brutal, funny, and has all the tropes you need in a slasher. Ted White is my favorite Jason because of how angry he portrays the character, making him the scariest to me. The cast of teens are actually fun to watch, and you don't really root for Jason to get them, but when he does, it's awesome thanks to Tom Savini returning for special effects. It's bookended with the death of Jason that works as a definitive kill, courtesy of Corey Feldman. Not only is this one of the best Friday films, it's one of the best slashers ever made. However, my number 2 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. This is my favorite Friday movie. It's directed wonderfully by Tom McLaughlin and has a great sense of humor about itself while still managing to be a good slasher. While CJ Graham isn't my favorite Jason, I think his zombie Jason is the best and has the over-the-top kills to display his new power. The heart punch, triple decapitation, RV face smash, sheriff backcrack are all memorable. Tom Matthews is my favorite iteration of Tommy Jarvis, and I enjoy the build up to his final confrontation with Jason at Crystal Lake. Megan is a fun final girl alongside Tommy for the ride as well. The cast as a whole is fine, and I love the editing between scenes and the old-timey universal black and white mood it paints. While not the scariest, it's the one I pop in the most for a good time and comfort. And finally, my number 1 pick is no surprise if you know me. Say it with me now. Halloween. I'm not sure I can gush about it as much as I did in the review, but to reiterate, it's my favorite movie of all time. John Carpenter took a simple premise, a minuscule budget, and created a masterpiece of suspense with one of the scariest villains out there, Michael Myers. It's a staple of the horror genre and a film that many break out during the month of October. The characters are great, most notably Jamie Lee as Laurie and Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. Carpenter's music enhances the effectiveness of the film, and the cinematography is better than it has any business being. It all builds to a heart-racing finale and cliffhanger ending. I've always considered it an inspiration to me, so how could I not put it at the top of 31? There you have it, 31 films ranked. Don't quite agree with me? Well, maybe leave your list in the comments or at least give me your top 5. This was quite the feat, but I had a fun time doing it. If you'd like to hear me talk about all of these in greater detail, you can check out the reviews for them in the playlist in the description. In all honesty, I feel very exhausted after reviewing, so I'm gonna take a bit of a breather, but I won't stop the videos. I've decided that I'm gonna make November Top 10 month. Each week I'll be doing a top 10 for my favorite horror films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I hope you guys will stick around and watch them. Don't forget to subscribe and follow my Twitter and Instagram. Links to those are in the description. I hope you all have a safe and fun Halloween. Watch some scary movies for me. Until next time, peace.